Max was a German shepherd with a heart of gold. From the moment he was a puppy, it was clear that he was special. His eyes sparkled with intelligence and kindness, and his playful nature brought joy to everyone around him. He was big and strong, with intelligent eyes and a wagging tail that never seemed to stop. Max had a way of making everyone feel safe and loved. His presence was a comforting constant in the lives of those who knew him. Max was more than just a pet. He was a protector, a confidant, and a best friend. Whether he was walking alongside his owner or running freely in an open field, Max exuded a sense of purpose and loyalty that was truly remarkable. He was a loyal companion, always by the side of those he loved. Max had an uncanny ability to sense when someone needed comfort, and he would lie next to them, offering silent support with his gentle presence. He was a member of the family, not just a pet. Max played with the children, guarded the house, and even seemed to understand the family's routines and emotions. His bond with each family member was unique and special. Max lived in a small countryside home surrounded by nature. The house was modest but filled with warmth and love. The garden was his playground where he would chase butterflies and bask in the sun. It was a cozy place filled with love and laughter. The family spent their days enjoying the simple pleasures of life, and Max was always at the center of it all. His joyful spirit was infectious, and he made every moment brighter. He shared this home with a loving family who adored him. They played together, went on adventures, and created countless memories. Max's loyalty and love were unwavering, and he gave his family everything he had. But his favorite person in the whole world was 10-year-old Emma. From the moment they met, there was an unspoken bond between them. Emma and Max were inseparable, sharing a connection that was pure and unbreakable. Max would follow Emma everywhere. Whether she was playing in the yard, exploring the woods, or simply reading a book, Max was always by her side. He was her shadow, her protector, and her best friend. He would wait patiently for her at the school bus stop every afternoon. Rain or shine, Max was there, eagerly anticipating her return. His excitement was palpable, and his tail wagged furiously as soon as he saw her. He would sleep at the foot of her bed every night, a silent guardian watching over his little human. Max's presence was a source of comfort and security for Emma, and she knew she could always count on him. Max loved Emma unconditionally, and she loved him back just the same. Their bond was a testament to the incredible connection that can exist between a dog and a human. Max was more than just a loyal friend, he was family. Emma was a bright and cheerful girl with a love for adventure. She loved exploring the woods behind her house, with Max by her side. They were the best of friends, inseparable and always there for each other. Emma would confide in Max, sharing her secrets and dreams. She would read him stories, her voice soothing him. Max, in turn, would listen intently, his big brown eyes filled with understanding and love. Their bond was something special, a connection that ran deep. They were two souls, one human, one canine, connected by an invisible thread of love and loyalty. They were family. One crisp winter evening, as the sun began to set, Emma decided to go for a walk in the woods. The air was cold, but the woods were beautiful, covered in a blanket of fresh snow. "Come on, Max," Emma called out, her voice echoing through the quiet house. Max, always eager to accompany his human, bounded over to her, his tail wagging excitedly. Emma bundled up in her warmest coat, her breath forming white puffs in the cold air. Max, his thick fur keeping him warm, trotted happily beside her as they set off into the woods. The woods were peaceful and quiet, a serene blanket of snow covering the ground and muffling any sounds. The trees stood tall and still, their branches heavy with snow, creating a picturesque winter wonderland. The air was crisp and cold, each breath visible as a small cloud of vapor. The only sounds were the crunch of their boots on the snow, a rhythmic and almost comforting noise that echoed through the silent woods. Each step left a distinct imprint, a temporary mark on the pristine white canvas. Occasionally, the distant call of a lone owl would break the silence, its haunting hoot adding to the mystical atmosphere of the forest. The owl, perched high on a branch, seemed to be watching over the woods, a silent guardian of the night. Emma, caught up in the beauty of her surroundings, wandered further and further down the path. She marveled at the way the snow transformed the forest into a magical place, each tree and bush adorned with a sparkling coat of frost. The The path seemed to invite her deeper into the woods, promising more wonders just around the bend. As the last rays of sunlight disappeared below the horizon, casting long shadows through the trees, the forest began to change. The vibrant colors of the sunset gave way to the deep blues and purples of twilight, and the temperature dropped noticeably. The once inviting path now seemed more ominous, the shadows lengthening and merging into a dark, indistinguishable mass. Emma realized she was lost. The path seemed unfamiliar, the landmarks she had noted earlier now obscured by the growing darkness. Panic began to set in as she turned in circles, trying to find something, anything that looked familiar. She couldn't recognize any of the landmarks. The trees all looked the same, their branches intertwining to form a confusing maze. The snow-covered ground offered no clues, each step she took only adding to her disorientation. Fear crept into her heart, cold and unwelcome. She felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature, a deep-seated dread that gnawed at her confidence. Her breaths came quicker, each one a puff of white in the cold air. "Max," she whispered, her voice trembling, "I think we're lost." Her faithful dog, Max, looked up at her with trusting eyes, his tail wagging slightly as if to reassure her. Max, sensing her distress, nuzzled his head against her leg, offering her the comfort she so desperately needed. His presence was a small but significant source of warmth and reassurance in the cold, darkening woods. His warm brown eyes filled with concern, reflecting the worry in Emma's own eyes. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart, and looked around once more, hoping to find a way out of the woods. Max could sense Emma's fear. He whined softly, licking her hand as if to reassure her that everything would be all right. Max knew they had to find their way back home. He sniffed the air, his keen senses working overtime, trying to pick up a familiar scent. He circled Emma, his bark echoing through the silent woods, a beacon of hope in the growing darkness. Max was a loyal dog, and he would not rest until he knew Emma was safe. He would find their way home, he decided. He would protect his human. Back at the house, Emma's parents were starting to worry. It was getting dark, and Emma was late. They knew she was supposed to be back before sunset. "Where could she be?" Emma's mother asked, her voice filled with concern. Emma's father tried to reassure her, but he couldn't shake off the feeling of dread that was settling in his stomach. They grabbed their coats and flashlights and set out into the woods, calling Emma's name into the darkness. "Emma, Max!" Their voices echoed through the trees, but there was no reply. Max led Emma through the woods, his senses guiding them. He remembered the scents, the smells of the trees and the earth, and he knew he was on the right track. Suddenly, Max stopped. His ears perked up. He smelled something familiar, a scent that brought a wave of relief washing over him. It was the scent of home. With a bark of excitement, Max pulled on his leash, urging Emma forward. He knew the way now, and he wasn't going to let anything stop him from getting his human back to safety. Emma's parents were about to give up hope when they heard a familiar bark in the distance. "Max!" Emma's mother called out, her voice filled with a glimmer of hope. Then through the trees they saw them. Max, his tail wagging furiously, was leading Emma out of the woods and into their arms. Relief washed over them like a tidal wave. Emma ran to her parents, tears of relief streaming down her face. "Max found me!" she exclaimed, hugging her furry hero tightly. Max, exhausted but happy, lapped at her face, his tail thumping a steady beat against the ground. That night, curled up in her bed with Max by her side, Emma felt a sense of peace wash over her. The gentle rise and fall of Max's breathing was a comforting lullaby, a reminder that she was safe and loved. Max had been with her through thick and thin, always by her side, always ready to protect her. His loyalty was unwavering, and his presence was a constant source of comfort. As she lay there, she thought back to all the times Max had been there for her, through the good times and the bad. He was more than just a pet. He was a true friend, a guardian, and a source of endless love. Emma couldn't have been more grateful for her loyal companion. Max had a way of understanding her like no one else could. He knew when she was happy, and he knew when she was sad. He was always there to offer a comforting nuzzle or a playful bark to lift her spirits. Their bond was something special, something that words could hardly describe. It was a connection that went beyond the ordinary, a deep and unspoken understanding that only they shared. Max had a way of making everything better, just by being there. He had saved her, guided her back home when she was lost and scared. That day in the forest, when the shadows grew long and the path seemed to disappear, Max had been her guiding light. With his keen senses and unwavering determination, he had led her back to safety. Emma would never forget the relief she felt when they finally emerged from the trees, the warmth of home just ahead. Max had been her hero that day, and she knew she could always count on him. As she drifted off to sleep, she knew that she would never be truly alone as long as she had Max. His presence was a constant reminder that she was loved and protected. The bond they shared was unbreakable, forged in moments of joy and tested in times of adversity. Max was her rock, her steadfast companion, and she couldn't imagine life without him. As she closed her eyes, she whispered a silent thank you to her loyal friend, knowing that he would always be there for her. He was more than just a dog. He was her protector, her confidant, her best friend. Max had a way of making her feel safe, no matter what. Whether they were playing in the garden or sitting quietly together, his presence was a source of comfort and joy. He listened to her secrets, shared in her laughter, and offered a shoulder to cry on when she needed it. Max was always there, a constant and unwavering presence in her life. He was her loyal companion, and she loved him with all her heart. Max, his head resting on Emma's lap, looked at her with love and devotion in his eyes. It was a look that spoke volumes, a silent promise of loyalty and protection. Emma knew that no matter what challenges they faced, Max would always be by her side. His love was unconditional, his loyalty unwavering. As they sat together, the bond between them grew even stronger. Max was more than just a pet. He was a true friend, a guardian, and a source of endless love. Emma couldn't imagine her life without him, and she knew that their bond would last forever. He was her loyal companion, and he would protect her always, no matter what. Max had a way of sensing danger, of knowing when something wasn't right. He was always alert, always ready to defend her. Emma knew that she could trust him with her life. Max was her guardian, her protector, and her best friend. Their bond was unbreakable, forged in love and tested by adversity. No matter what challenges they faced, Emma knew that Max would always be there for her. He was her loyal companion, and she loved him with all her heart. Their bond, forged in love and tested by adversity, was unbreakable. Emma and Max had been through so much together, and their connection had only grown stronger with time. They shared a love that was pure and unconditional, a bond that could never be broken. Whether they were playing in the park, running through the fields, or simply sitting together in quiet companionship, their love for each other was evident in every moment. Emma knew that as long as she had Max, she would never be alone. He was her loyal companion, her protector, and her best friend, and she loved him more than words could ever express.